welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 190, The Magical Land of Intentional Development. Many of you know by now that one of my favourite books as a child was Enid Blyton's The Magic Faraway Tree. For those of you unfamiliar with this particular piece of literary genius, well, to my childlike mind anyway, here is a very brief synopsis, and I promise there's a reason for starting here. When a boy comes to visit his 3 cousins, they take him to visit the Magic Faraway Tree, a colossal tree that stands proudly in the enchanted wood. The tree is home to magical beings like Moonface, Saucepan Man and Silky the Fairy. More exciting than that, though, is that when you climb near the top of the tree, if you hear the wind blowing, it marks the arrival of a different magical land. If they choose to climb in, each land offers a new adventure, each with a powerful lesson. And as you might imagine, some of those lands are dangerous, so the children must be cautious. For instance, the land of take what you want teaches them about greed. The land of do as you please teaches them that actions have consequences. And then there's the land of Dame Slap. I'll say no more. The children must be careful to get back down the tree and slide down the slippery slip before the land moves off, or they'll be stranded, which doesn't bear thinking about. Be critical if you must of Enid Blyton, but she was of her time and contributed to the development of my ethical code and morals. It's now been rewritten to be more aligned with our woke society, so I hope the lessons are no less powerful. Now, as an adult, unafraid to awaken my inner child, I'd like to propose a land for us to visit together. The land of intentional development, also known as the land of personal and professional development. So we take ourselves to the enchanted wood and hear the winds of change roaring above us as together we climb the magic faraway tree. We take some pot biscuits and Google buns from the Saucepan Man for our journey. We watch out so that we can dodge the inevitable dirty washing water that Dame Washalot pours from the branches at regular intervals, and we keep our eyes on the task ahead so as to make sure we don't inadvertently peep in at the angry pixie who throws things at those who pry. As we pop our heads above the clouds into this new visiting land, we are met with an array of peculiar landmarks, structures and curiosities. Buckle up for a whistle-stop tour of the land of intentional development. What does one do when visiting a new land? Well, depending on your disposition, it's either going to be just start wandering around or check to see if there is a map and get your bearings. In magical lands at the top of the faraway tree, getting a sense of where you are now so you know where you need to get back to when the winds of change start to blow is essential. It's what I always look for on a London Underground map or in a big new shopping mall, the "You Are Here" sticker. Interestingly, on old London Underground maps, it was easy to spot where we were, as so many fingers had usually worn the map away to a dirty smudge at the spot where you were. In our own development journeys, knowing where we're starting from is always essential too. Not so that we can get back there, but so that we can assess how far we've progressed. And ours may be a dirty smudge too, if we've reverted back to it too often or settled there for too long. As we set off in this new land, the first thing we encounter is the pit of shame, closely guarded by a very officious blush master Cringington. What? Well, in many ways this doesn't surprise me, as many of us have only been introduced to the notion of a personal improvement plan because there is an underperformance issue. And probably no one has made clear the distinction between that and a personal development plan. As a result, some of us are left believing that having a development plan suggests that we are inadequate in some way. Nothing could be further from the truth. Having an intentional personal or professional development plan says, I have aspirations and I'm heading somewhere else, which this plan will help me manifest. So, look Blush Master Cringington in the eye and tell him, I don't belong here and I won't be staying here. As I did this, I found myself ending with, good day to you, sir, like a Dickensian film. So our first lesson is that development plans, whether personal or professional, are necessary and helpful. And as Lewis Carroll wrote in Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat said to Alice, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So at the start of any development journey, we need to take time to know where we're going. And that's where we start in all of my development programs, because then you're ready to start creating a practical plan. As we move on from the pit of shame, we stumble across the fountain of feedback, where reflective waters showcase our strengths with glorious clarity, and we're shown areas we need to develop if we're going to reach our destination. There was a little sign saying, feedback is the nectar of growth, so we drink deeply from the fountain. As we raise our heads, refreshed and replenished, we embrace the developmental feedback we've received and consider how it will enhance our strengths. If you're afraid of water, be sure to bring a straw with you so you too can drink deeply. I did look over my shoulder to make sure no one was going to dunk my head in the water. Says something about my school years, doesn't it? Our lesson here is that we all need feedback to understand the impact of our behaviour as we take our steps in life. If people are not forthcoming with their feedback, we need to make more of an effort to both ask for it and to create a climate of feedback. Refreshed, we move on from the fountain of feedback, and as we wander a little further, we discover the skill tree orchard. Here, skills grow on trees like fruits waiting to be picked by those hungry for knowledge. We learn the importance of continuous learning and how acquiring new skills that are relevant to our journey can transform us into versatile leaders. Some of you may pluck the fruits of delegation and communication, while others feast on the berries of adaptability and resilience. I choose to enjoy the rare but necessary bloom of conflict resolution. I wonder what you will choose and savour. The biggest lesson from this part of our journey is that gorging on skills because of FOMO, fear of missing out, wouldn't help us at all. We need a reason to consume or gather the fruits or skills and then put them to work for us. Otherwise, left in the basket, they just rot and become worthless. As we lift our heads a little ahead of us, we could see the bright, sparkling peaks, and looking at our map, we could see they are labelled as the mountains of motivation. Interesting. We already know that motivation is an inside job, but we decide to climb anyway, just in case there were gems to be collected. The path was littered with motivational quotes like the ones you'd see on an office wall. But they don't work for everyone, which is presumably why they've been discarded. The view at the summit is breathtaking, and we meet the motivation maestro, a wise old soul who quietly hums the symphony of success. He teaches us that the essence of staying motivated is to be really clear on our own vision of the future, to set purposeful intentions and take action regularly, even daily if we can. He reminds us that those actions don't need to be great big things, as small sustainable actions will get you just as far and often be less exhausting. Armed with that wisdom, we make our way back down the mountain, picking up any of the quotes that really resonated with us. After all, we shouldn't be leaving litter on the mountain. Once back on level ground, we decide it's time to make our way back, as we don't want to be too far from our starting point when the winds of change start to blow. Our route takes us across the bridge of balance, where we're reminded to juggle personal and professional aspirations so we don't tumble into the river of burnout below. The waters are murky and the current strong. Who knows what creatures lurk there in those dark waters? As we walk mindfully across the bridge, we agree that balance is the key to a harmonious and fulfilled life. We make our commitments to ensure that we pay attention to our self-care needs as we develop our personal and professional skills so that we too can enjoy equilibrium. The lesson here is that we are complex with many needs, desires and commitments. Satisfying them all takes boundaries, balance and prioritisation. We find we just have time to saunter through the garden of growth tended by Shelley the Serene, and here we admire the beauty and smell the roses. How often on our journeys of self-development do we keep our heads down and focus on where our feet are rather than looking up and around at the wonders of the world? Flourishing is a journey, not a destination. So we need to satisfy all of our senses as we follow our chosen path. Shelley reminds us that just as in nature, we will have times when we are growing, times when we are bearing fruit or blossom, and times when we are resting. They are all necessary in the circle of life and linked to finding equilibrium. And occasionally, we'll feel the pull of urgency, and we know we need to be discerning about what we respond to. After all, not everything that demands our attention deserves it. And now the soft moan of the winds of change signal that it's time for us to head back to our majestic tree and retreat down the slippery slip before the land moves off. As we gather at the foot of the tree, taking care to stand well out of reach of Dame Washalot's dirty washing water, we reflect on our journey together. Armed with the lessons from the land of intentional development, we agree that we are no longer the same and are ready for the next phase of our personal and professional growth. In the enchanting land of development, we learn to reject the shame, drink deeply from the fountain of feedback, choose carefully from the skills trees, compose our own symphony of success, navigate the bridge of balance to achieve equilibrium, and tune in to our personal seasons. Our journey has been symbolic, enlightening, and filled with powerful wisdom. So, dear listener, are you ready to embark on your magical journey of personal and professional development? Why not take advantage of the free synergy calls I'm offering right now? Together we'll start to explore what your journey might consist of and see how you can get started. I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. Our paths are paved with possibilities, and I'm pretty sure there will be plenty of gems along the way. What's important is that we take the first step from our plan. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.